There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, if you want.
1, 2, 3, set, go.
Hello and welcome to episode 52 of the Power Chord Hour podcast. Hope you're doing well out there wherever you're listening to this. Thank you so much. As always, I'm your host, Anthony Merchant, here with you once again after a little winter break there. Thank you so much for hanging in. And I know I kind of lied. I know I said I would be back last week. Did not happen, but here I am. I am finally back. And you know what? It was nice because I enjoy doing this weekly. But it's one of those things where if you don't get to do it for a week or so, you want to do it even more. So like I'm even more excited to be here doing this. Yesterday's radio show, I'm recording this. It's weird to say it because this podcast comes out on Mondays, and normally I like 9 times out of 10 I record them on Saturdays. If a guest needs to do it like a different day or something, I'll do it whatever works for them. But if it's a solo one or it's just like the last ones, it feels like it was so long ago that I recorded them, but like with Zach and Kyle and ones like that, we normally do them on like a Saturday night. So like, I'm talking about now and it's like the radio show was last night, but it was Friday night. But you're listening to this at earliest on Monday, so obviously that wasn't yesterday. So yeah, I get it all jumbled. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it didn't confuse anyone up until now, but I guess I confused the hell out of myself. But anyway, yesterday on Friday night, I was doing the radio show again, and once again, like for the first time in a couple weeks, and was just so like reinvigorated and so stoked to do it. And not only that, but it was very cool. I know I've been talking about it on here that our 5th anniversary is coming up, and it was exactly yesterday, February 19th, 2016. That was our very first episode, premiered on 107.9 WRFA right here in Jamestown. Same place, and I'm still doing it. Same place, and I'm still recording right now, even though it's a different studio now. It has been renovated, and in those 5 years, I've recorded, I think I've done the rundown of this before, so I won't spend like tons of time on it, but I think I've recorded this podcast and radio show. I mean, more radio show than anything, but because really this podcast has mostly been recorded at my home studio and the studio here at WRFA, and I don't think anywhere else. No, nowhere I can think of. I a couple times did, like when I did the Blue Ridge Parkway last summer, and was hiking and stuff. I did bring, I believe, my little Tascam with in case I wanted to record something, because I live basically, when I travel like that, I live in my Honda Element, and I've recorded things in there before. It actually does not sound bad, even like guitar and stuff I've recorded in there, and even sometimes just with the voice memos with my iPhone, and actually does not sound bad. Does not sound like it was recorded in a car. If I didn't tell you it, you would not know. And that amazes me. Don't get me wrong, it's not studio quality, but it is not what you would think it would sound like. And, shout out Honda Elements. It's probably because it has very good acoustics. But, yeah, I've recorded things in there. So I have brought it with before. I don't even think that's the only time. I've brought it with other times where it's like I do have the idea of like, at some point I'll like take a break from a hike and I'll just park somewhere in the shade, like eat lunch and chill out. And maybe I'll like try to record one. But like, it's just one of those things where even though this is fun, like I don't think of this as like, work or anything like that. It just never, like, honestly, like I don't think I've ever been done hiking and go, you know what, I want to record a podcast right now. Like it's the last fucking thing that I want to do. So I will normally bring a recorder with and just be like, like maybe this is the time, but I've never recorded an episode in my car. One of these days I will. I mean, it's not far-fetched. At some point, I had, like in the first 5 years, it blows my mind that it's never happened. But in the next 5 years, within the first decade, I will eat my shoes on air, I guess. I don't know. Email me with a better idea, something better than shoes. I don't know. It was the first thing that came to mind. But if we hit the 10-year mark in another 5 years, and I haven't recorded in the back of a car, and I'll just say a car, maybe it won't even be my Honda Element, but just in the back of a car, yeah, I'll eat my shoes because I won't be able to believe it. I can't believe it hasn't happened yet. But yeah, as far as the podcast goes, mostly just recorded in my home studio and here at WRFA in the beautiful new studios. I mean, they're really nice. The old ones were nice too, but they had more of a I don't know like I'm trying to like think of a way to like describe them. Like they weren't trash or anything like that, but they were a little more, you know what, that one was more cozy. Like that one was more of just like a hang, if you will. This one is more of like a bona fide studio. Like there's 3 studios in here, really nice big windows that look out, and actually very nice view of downtown Jamestown. I look out the one windows here. It's a very cool building and everything. Like it looks very, very cool, very different from what it once looked like. But yeah, I mean, all in all, the podcast is podcast side, just kind of recording it here and there. But yeah, altogether we've recorded it in the 2 old studios at WRFA. WRFA, when it was a makeshift studio in a basement while they were renovating this place. The new WRFA studios, my home studio here in Jamestown, and my home studio in Minneapolis. My studio. That was my studio and my studio apartment, where I guess someone probably would have a dining room in there. You know, someone else would have had a table to eat at. I didn't have a table to eat at. I had a I had a studio in my apartment. Like here's the thing: you could have recorded an album in my apartment, but you couldn't have eaten at a table. That's just how that went. You couldn't have eaten at a table, but you could have recorded an album there. I mean, now to be fair, probably with electronic drums, because it was like a complex. So yeah, like there were lots, and I had downstairs neighbors. So yeah, I don't know that a real drummer would get away with that for very long. But yeah, if you were using like drum loops or an electronic drum set or something, definitely could have recorded an album there. I recorded a radio show and interviews and everything there. But yeah, I didn't have a table to eat at. But hey, you do what you have to do. But yeah, so what I'm getting at is in 5 years, we've recorded the show many, many places. But I love the new studio here at WRFA. It's just it makes me feel professional. That's what I'm getting at here, is that it's a very nice looking studio. It makes me feel very professional. And I love doing it here. I really do appreciate WRFA for letting me do the radio show now for 5 years, and also being cool with letting me, record the podcast here as well. I enjoy, like, here's the thing, like, I enjoy my home studio. I love that you can record things at home and everything, but I honestly think anyone who would tell you that they enjoy that environment more than a real studio, like, has never worked in a real one. Like, and I'm not, look at people, there's so many people who've worked in much nicer studios than me. Like, I'm not saying I've worked in like the greatest studios ever, but I've been in enough of them and worked in enough of them, not just here, but other radio stations and just other like recording studios and stuff as well, like in college and different places. And like, that you just can't beat, I feel like. Like, there's just something about that. Like, there's a feeling where, once again, it's almost like more bona fide, whatever you're doing, or it seems more professional or more serious when you're doing it there. You know what I mean? Like interviewing somebody, and I mean, here's a good comparison, which is a real one because this is coming from me personally doing it. But like, I enjoy doing, like, I love that you can do that stuff at home. But like doing an interview at like, like it in my studio apartment, like, interviewing like Michael Beinhorn in my studio apartment, like the dude who produced like Soundgarden and Hole and Ozzy Osbourne and the Red Hot Chili Peppers and all these different bands, like, that's cool, but it feels much cooler when I'm like interviewing someone in a studio, you know what I mean? Like behind a mic with headphones on. I have the mixing board, which, to be fair, I have that I had that in my apartment as well. But it's like I also had sheets hanging up everywhere. And, I had a humming refrigerator behind me, which became an issue because I have a very nice mic. If you don't, you either give a shit or you don't. But I have a Shure SM7B, and that's a very nice mic. I mean, it's a great. I splurged on it. It's one of those things where I'm like, I'll have it forever. I'll use it forever and whatnot. It's just one of those things where it's like when you have it, then you have it, and you'll always. It's like an SM57. Like you have to have it. Again, these are things where either you give a shit about what I'm saying, or you have no clue what I'm talking about. But yeah. Anyways, you have to turn the gain up so much on those SM7Bs that it would just like. I mean, I guess I could have unplugged my refrigerator, but I didn't really want to do that. So like, unless I wanted to unplug it, there was no way of me getting a good level with that mic because it was either too low or it was hot enough where it was picking me up good, but it was also picking up my refrigerator like just as much, just the constant buzzing. So a big pain in the ass. It was funny. I had to use, but you know what? My cheap USB snowball mic that I've had I think I got that when I was like 13 or 14 for Christmas, like probably like 08, 09. So yeah, I've had it for like 12, 13 years. And, thankfully that thing came in handy and that did not pick up my refrigerator and worked just fine. Those are pretty good mics too, if anyone ever needs like a cheap one. But, and actually I was just going to say, I was talking about the Shure SM57 mics, but it's like, that's one of those things. I was just talking to my buddy Zach, who, you just heard not too long ago on those unpopular music opinion episodes, which I love doing. That was such a blast. You're going to hear more of them. I mean, Zach's been on a couple times now. I think that was his third appearance. Kyle's been on, I think Kyle's been on like 5 or 6 times now. And, a lot of those are like 2-parters. So if you count that, I mean, like even more, you can basically like double actually both their appearances just because we do really, because it's just buddies bullshitting. But yeah, I'm going to have them on a lot more, I think. People seem to really like those episodes. Like, really, one of our most popular ones is our top 5 Blink-182 songs. And I do often wonder why it's so popular. I don't know if it's popular for the right reasons or not. But, that was a very fun one to do. But it blows my mind. It's like it's higher up there than certain guests I've had on here who I would have thought would have been the biggest ones like that. But that's the surprising thing to me, though, that I've kind of learned, and I kind of learned even before the podcast, like you just with the radio show, is like the biggest names aren't particularly the ones that'll get the most eyes on your show. Like because like, like Stephen Jenkins, like there's one. Like Stephen Jenkins of Third Eye Blind, one of the biggest people I've ever interviewed. It was awesome, and it was an honor to do. But, like, it's not like that was some kind of interview that, like, broke me or the Power Chord Hour or got me, like, thousands of followers or thousands of listeners or anything. I've gotten more interactions from people and people turned on to the show from smaller bands and smaller artists who I interview who have, like, cult followings, who just are, like, very, like, Ben Jorgensen of, like, Armor for Sleep. That one has, like, tons of, like, that's, like, one of our most popular and listened to episodes. And it's like, obviously Armor for Sleep isn't as big as Third Eye Blind, but, he, Ben was very cool. He helped share it, spread the word, and like, kind of get it out there more and help out. And, that was a lot, that kind of got more attention on the show than some of the bigger artists and stuff. So really, you never know what episodes are going to be big. And also some of the ones where I thought, who are even like, yes, they're guests, but they're also buddies of mine, like with Zach and Kyle, where like that, episodes with them, or some of them are like way bigger than ones with like musicians who I consider famous, So yeah, you just never know. But yeah, it was very, like I was saying, earlier, I was off for a couple weeks there, and I coming back to it, like it makes it even more fun. And then doing it on the 5th anniversary, like I was so stoked that it fell right on it. And I didn't realize that either, to be honest, because I always forget the exact date. Like, and I can always find it because like my Facebook memories pop up, and like, like thankfully we have social media now, so there's inklings of like, like there's proof that it happened basically. So like, it will pop up, but like I always forget. I know it was like the second or not the second, sorry, it was the 3rd or 4th week of February. I knew that it was at the end of it. But I can never remember the date. It's like all I know is like the vicinity of it. Like it's in between February blah and February blah. But like a few days beforehand, I realized that it fell on the exact day, that Friday, on the 19th. And I was very, very stoked about that. And, for a while, like I didn't realize it until then, but I knew it was coming up. And for a long time, I was trying to think of what to do. And, I'm like, how do you celebrate it? Cause I'm very proud that I've been doing it for 5 years. I mean, it's like one of my favorite things that I've ever, done. I've met so many cool people from it, so many fun stories, so many cool things from it. Like even like off mic, meeting people who I've interviewed on here, becoming friends with people, and, just hundreds of different things. And I mean, really the number one, and I've said it before, I mean, I this is well documented, but honestly, the best thing is that for about 5 years, I don't think I really started getting radio promos till like a year in. So, maybe like 4 years, maybe not 5, but I've not those sweet radio promos, not having to pay for like Fat releases or Epitaph releases or like any of these other labels who I absolutely love and for years have spent all my money on. It's like it has saved me money. Like it's not that this show makes me money. Like it's never really made me money. Like it's made a couple dollars here or there, but like, trust me, I've put much more money into doing this show than I've ever made, but it has saved me money because I used to spend so much money at record stores and now I don't have to because all those labels are rad enough to, send radio promos to little shows like me and other like, little independent shows and college radio stations and stuff and places that will play rad music like that, And, I think you need that and not to be like self-serving, not that you need the Power Chord Hour. In no way, shape, or form do I think you need this shitty show, but just more of the fact that anyone's out there, spreading the word on bands and music that you wanted to hear other places, or otherwise. It's good that there's a home for it, Like I always and that's the thing. Like I always try to hold here, like that's the right thing about college radio, and that's what I almost try to do this show and just the Power Chord Hour the last 5 years really with the spirit of college radio. And I mean, I started it my last semester of college. And, a big reason I started it was I just kept fucking around with doing a show at the college radio station. And, this basically, the show did start with what I would have had, on a college station. So, I mean, I shouldn't even say that the spirit is of that because really it did start out as, what would have originally been on a college station, which, was my last semester too. So it was probably better that it wasn't because then I would have had transition and shit. So, probably not a bad thing that it wasn't on there. But, just that idea of you can play a couple different things that aren't exactly the same. Like I can play a ska band from the 90s and then play like an indie rock band and then like a pop punk band from 5 years ago and then like a post-hardcore band from the early 2000s. You know what I mean? Like just play different things and then throw like a replacement song in there, and stuff. You kind of get the gist. You know what I play and listen to and talk about. But yeah, I think you need that, and that's definitely a place where I come from and try to continue doing that. Even once I got out of college, that idea of fuck a format in the sense because here's the thing, the format should be the quality control of is it good, you know what I mean? But that should be about it, obviously look at this is a music podcast, so it's like traveling. I love to travel. I talk about it a little bit on here, but I try not to do it too much. And it's I think you can blend in different things, but I think as long as your main focus is just this is music that I love and I just want to get the word out on it, again, I don't really care if it's ska or if it's emo or if it's, pop punk or whatever. If I like it and it's within the vein of what I do here, it's oh, okay, yeah, I'll share it. I was talking, I think I mentioned him not too long ago, and maybe I'm wrong, but Chris, a new buddy, which is very, very cool. Like I was saying, one of the perks of doing this show now for 5 years, meeting people and stuff. But Chris Revel, who does the Let's Chat podcast, while we were on break, I was talking to him on the phone. He called me up and we talked for an hour or so. And, like that's what I was telling him was like really, and it is true. Like I mean it, but like I was saying, like, I hope, and I really do. Like, I mean, I hope you enjoy this show. I hope you enjoy every episode, obviously, but it's like, it's not lost on me. Like, I don't think everyone's going to enjoy every single guest or every single topic. So I don't think everyone's going to listen to every single episode. I think that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, I kind of would rather have a show where it's like, fuck it, I can interview and talk about different things that I enjoy, that I think people will enjoy. And maybe if you listen, maybe I will turn you on to something you normally wouldn't, check out otherwise, because I do reel you into something that you would check out. But at the same time, it's like, I'm totally cool if you want to listen to my interview with the singer of the Suicide Machines, but you don't care so much about, an interview with the singer Third Eye Blind. Like, I totally get that. Like, and that's kind of the thing with it, where I'm like, it's like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And it kind of goes back to like the college radio thing, where it's like, you try to keep things within a certain, I don't know that I'd ever throw like a polka song on here per se. That might be a little left field. But it's like, if it's within a vein, I mean, basically, if there's power chords in it, or, if there's a power chord, then hey, I'll play it. And sometimes, you know what? I've played American football on the radio show. So I've even played things without power chords. But, I try not to do that too much. Maybe on April Fool's this year. Actually, I do think the show falls on April Fool's this year. As I was looking up the anniversary date the other day, I want to say I saw it did. So if it does, maybe all I'll play is like just really like American football and just all those bands with like weird time signatures and weird tunings, like no power chords at all. Just really just interesting and odd rhythms and stuff. Like maybe I'll do that in just zero power chords the entire time. Maybe that will be the April Fool's episode. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I can't thank people enough for 5 years of support of the show. I love doing it, and I appreciate anybody listening, because it would really suck if I've been doing it this long and no one listened at all. And I know people do, so that's what's rad, is the fact that I get feedback and stuff. That's what I really do. I appreciate it with people who do follow us, like on social media, or write to me on email, or however you get a hold of me. It's just very cool, because again, it's like, you want to know that people are listening, and I don't even care if it's like, I don't even care the volume, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be thousands of people, but the fact that anyone's listening, it's like, oh, okay, like that's good. Like, I know I'm not just fucking crazy, just talking to myself and no one checking it out. So, I'm doing my job. As long as people are listening to this and like going and checking out the music, then my work is done, and that makes me happy. But yeah, I'm stoked to be back at it. I mean, it does. It feels like it was forever ago doing that unpopular musical opinions with Zach and Kyle. And like I think I started saying that earlier. And if you've ever listened to this, I can get sidetracked very easy. But with Zach, yeah, I was talking to him recently about microphones, and I'm like, dude, like a Shure SM57 mic, it's like, you got to have that. It's like, for one, it's very affordable. Like, they're cheap enough, and it's like, you buy that and it's like, you'll always have a use for it. There's never a time where you don't need that. It's like, there's never a time where you're like it's funny, because when I see them used, I go, why the fuck did you just give up music altogether? Like I guess maybe if you were like, like if it's from like a venue, like a bar closes down and it's like, oh, they just sell them or whatever. But I'm like, if you're a musician and you record anything yourself, it's like, or, I mean, even if you don't record yourself, just live. I mean, fuck, if you're a vocalist, you could just have one for live shit. And it's like, I can't believe that, that's just one of those things where it's like, everyone should have that. Like, there's certain things where I'm like guitar pedals are one of those things where I very much, I don't even remember the last time I bought a guitar pedal, actually. To be honest, it's been years. It may have been the last time, if I'm remembering correctly, I bought a wah pedal in 2016. Actually, I mean, going back to the anniversary, not too long after the show started. It was around the time I bought my telly, and I bought that, and I want to say that was the last time I bought a pedal. I don't think in the last 5 years I've bought a pedal. And I just think I learned that, like, that's one of those pieces of equipment where, like, for one, pedals can be very expensive, and your taste can just change. You know what I mean? Like, one minute one minute you're like, if you're really into, say, shoegaze, like maybe there's pedals where it's like, yeah, I want, and that one in particular, you get an ass ton of pedals. But the second you don't want to sound like shoegaze anymore, it's like, well, fuck. I mean, unless you want to sound like, oh, those pedals are so specific that it's like, unless you want to sound a very specific way, like there's really no use for them. So it's like, I think there's certain things that I'm like are less practical. Like pedals, obviously, you need if you're going for a certain sound, but it's like I don't mess with them too much. But something like one of those Shure mics, I'm like, me and him were talking. I'm like, dude, like if that's the shit. Like if you're gonna record yourself, get one of those. And also, I mean, congrats to him. He did just get a Mesa dual rectifier as well, which is very cool. I know he's looking at cabs right now. And you know what, if you're a guitarist out there, and which you have to, and I'll get off gear talk here in a second, because again, it's like it's going back to when I was talking about mics. This is either interesting or you really fucking hate this. So I'll keep it brief. But yeah, powerchordhour@gmail.com. I mean, hit me up. What cab do you think Zach should get? You let me know, and I will text him your answers. And or maybe I'll even just like CC him or whatever, like add him to our email conversation, and we will tell him together. We'll be like, dude, you need to get, I told him an orange, because that's what I have, an orange PPC 210s. And I love that with my Marshall JCM 900, which is the other thing with pedals. It's like, dude, I get the best sound out of that thing, the best tones that I'm like, I really don't need pedals. Like I have my Gibson SG plugged into that 900 with the orange cab, and it's like, oh, that's just beautiful. Like that's like, there's a reason this show's called the Power Chord Hour, and it's like that thing played with power chords. Oh my God, it is it's power chord heaven. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. And including, I'm a terrible guitar player, but it makes me sound halfway decent. So, shout out to good gear for bad musicians. And that's kind of the secret with most of your favorite bands. And a lot of bands that I play on here play that rig, which is the reason why I play that rig, because a lot of the people that I listen to played that. And, I kind of went off of that. And I can assure you that not all of them, but some of them definitely sound as good as they do, not because they're as talented, but more or less because they have very nice gear. And I don't lie. Some of them do. Some of them won't acknowledge that, but I'm not in denial. I believe that. But not Zach. Zach's a very good guitar player. And speaking of which, I don't think I've brought this up, because we were doing it a little bit before a few months ago, and then I kind of went by the wayside, and we're starting again, including as he's getting this really good gear. But me and him have been doing stuff. Obviously I'm in New York and he's in Illinois. But online, we've been starting to kind of like throw ideas back and forth for like cover songs. And we did start doing What's My Age Again. And I think that might even be on a SoundCloud, honestly. Like you can hear, it's not finished, but I think he did put up one of them on his SoundCloud, Zach Gorszewski. And you can guess how to spell his name, because off the top of my head, I'm sorry, Zach, I cannot spell your name off the top of my head. He is my buddy. I love him. I've slept on a love seat next to him before, but and we've both watched each other vomit. And but yeah, I can't spell his last name. I'm sorry, I'm a shitty friend. But anyway. We've been talking about doing covers and originals too. I mean, and for years we've been doing that too, just kind of sending each other ideas and kind of playing off of it. But we want to do it more. But honestly, if you are a drummer out there and you're interested, I mean, really just screwing around, like we're just for fun, like we're trying to kind of do a online band of sorts. I mean, we were going to do covers, but we'd probably do some originals as well. But I mean, covers wise, I mean, like I said, Blink. For sure. Talked about the Strokes, definitely Alkaline Trio. So far, a lot of like early 2000s stuff, which really, I mean, is like where our love, like our friendship kind of like, I think was met there by our mutual love for a lot of that stuff. So, I mean, a lot of our covers in there, but we've thought of other stuff as well. But I mean, like basically if you're a pop punk drummer and, you want to like do some shit online, hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com. That would be rad, actually, to get a listener involved. That would be very cool. And yeah, it would be rad. He's a really good guitar player. He is a good singer. Kickstart. I mean, he's talked about it on here before, and I've played him on the show. But you can hear Zach's band. A little shameless plug for him here. Kickstart. Actually, it's not even shameless because it's not my band. So it would be shameless if it was my band, but it's not. So this isn't a shameless plug. It's just for a buddy. But Kickstart, and then I think it's kickstartil.bandcamp.com. But if you go on Bandcamp, just look up Kickstart. You can hear him there, his guitar and singing. And good musician. I love jamming with the dude. When we've hung out in person, we've jammed together. And I got to tell you, we did a mean Fallout Boy. I think when I went to his house it's crazy to say, it was like 3 years ago now. Okay, no, maybe 2. I take that back. Maybe 2 years. But I brought my SG with, and I played his bass, which was really rad. I forget it was a PV, and it's from the 80s, I believe. And he'll kill me if he hears this because I'm probably fucking it up. He'll be like, no, it's a 70s, whatever. But it is a PV. I want to say it was early 80s, and I can't remember the name of it. But really nice bass, nice deep round sound, but still punchy, which is what I like. And I mean, my favorite bass, going back to like fucking gear talk. Hopefully you don't hate this, but I mean, like, I love my main bass is a Stingray, which is which me and him were having fun because like I said, we covered What's My Age Again, and we started to kind of demoing it. And I asked him first, but I'm like, you know what, like, we can do it, but we really don't need to stick to the original, like, straight up. And like, I have a jazz bass, like what Mark Hoppus plays on Enema of the State, or on that one, I should say, because Jerry Finn, credit to him and credit to Mark Hoppus as well. But one of my biggest things with musicians, and I should bring this up with producers, I've interviewed a few on here and I never bring it up, but like with guitars, they'll play 50 different fucking guitars on a record. Like, they'll track all these different guitars, all these different amps, all these different heads, like just all different pedals. Like, this song we play these guitars, and we played a different set of guitars on this one, like whole different rigs. And then it's like, well, what'd you do with bass? And it's like, well, they played a P bass through an Ampeg, like an SVT. And it's like, and don't get me wrong, that's a great tone, but it's like you never really hear of them going, well, you use this bass for this song and this bass for this song, which is crazy to me because they all sound so different that totally, like I love my Stingray, but sometimes that's way too punchy for certain things. So you need a jazz bass. Sometimes that's too punchy. So you do need a P bass. Like I like P basses, but not as much as a lot of people do. I would rather a jazz bass over a P bass, tone wise, but like, still, it just depends the song. So getting back to with Blink on Enema of the State, and I think that's really the only one, because by Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, I think he might have been playing his signature bass, Mark Hoppus, at that point. And on Dude Ranch, I think he's playing a Stingray the whole time. Everything before Enema is Stingray, I want to say. And then on Enema, though, he played a P bass, a Stingray, and a J bass, which again, like, goes back to that, where it's like they understand that. Like, Jerry Finn understood that, and Mark as well, credit to both of them, that it's like, no, this song you need this bass, and you need this bass for this one. And it's kind of why they created his signature bass the way they did, to kind of be a versatile one like that. But it's still, like I mean, it's more influenced by all those things. Like, it doesn't get the job done in the same way that it does, in my opinion, to play all of them. But anyways, getting back to it, I know this episode's filled with gear talk, but Zach, I'm like, dude, like, how would you feel if I play with a Stingray? And he was like, fuck yeah, to the idea. And I love that song. What's My Age Again with a Stingray sounds really, really good. And it's funny because we demoed it, but we don't have a drummer yet. So we just used just the isolated drum track from the studio recording. In the demo sounds really good. Like, no one sang on it, but just Zach played guitar. And I think 2 guitars. Like, he layered it, and I played bass on there. And and Travis plays drums. I mean, technically, but but it sounds really, really good. But like, we both were talking about it, and it's like, well, does it sound good because of us, or does it sound good because it's a fucking drum loop of fucking Travis Barker? And like, we're still unsure. That's why we need a drummer. Like, someone needs to play with us so we know it's good because there's a drummer. Or if you're shitty, then we can just blame you. Then we don't have to like look inward. We can just be like, oh, obviously it's that fucking drummer. You know what I mean? Like, obviously it's that goddamn drummer that Anthony got off his podcast. But yeah, so it's been fun. We're getting back into it again and trying to write some originals, do some more covers. And so I mean, honestly, like in all seriousness, you play drums or you know someone who does who you think is bored in quarantine right now. I mean, there's no real. I mean, we're just kind of covering shit. I would imagine once we get a few done or do some originals, we'd probably put something up digitally. Like, it's obviously an online band. We're not going to be like doing much together. Not that you really can right now. But if you want to do some shit like that for fun, you basically want to play drums on some pop punk songs with two dudes you've heard on this podcast, then hit me up. And we're still trying to get Kyle because if you do listen, and he has mentioned it before, but he doesn't talk about it much. But Kyle is a guitar player and a good one. Kyle Steven, who you've heard on here tons, and was in a cool band, Flight Plan, great man from Illinois, and he downplays, I think, his musical abilities. But he is a very good guitar player and a good pop punk guitar player. So we're trying to get his ass on a song. We're trying to coax him in. We would love to just get him in the band as a rhythm guitar player with me and Zach. But, we're at least going to try to get his ass to, come on and play some guitar on a Newfound Glory song or something. We got to get him. We got to get him playing some more guitar. We got to try to coax him into that. So, if you follow him on social media, go. I think he's just at Kyle Steven on like Twitter and Instagram and all that. But like just start bullying him. Not even, don't even be nice. Just go bully him and be like, you need to go fucking play guitar with Anthony and Zach. Like, you need to go play some fucking. You need to go buy an interface. You need to go buy an SM57 because you just do, and you need to fucking play with them. But yeah. So yeah, that's what's been up. Been listening to a lot of music while on my break. And that's the other thing. Like that is what I almost miss most when I'm not doing the show, is when I don't get to do the radio show, because I play a little music on here with like the monthly rundowns, and I almost did February rundown this week, because technically our next episode will be like March 1st or 2nd, but then I'm like, we still have a whole nother week left, so I'm like, I'll just wait and do the February rundown next week. And I thought this one just kind of come on and come back and bullshit, talk about what's been going on and what I've been listening to and stuff. But yeah, like one of the things that I miss the most and is doing the radio show when I don't do it is playing the music that I'm listening to. Like the Dirty Nil. I played a song off their new record, Fuck Art, not too long ago, but like I've been listening to it nonstop lately while I've been on break, and Hang Your Moon is probably the best song I've ever written, and it's easily my favorite song on the record. And it's like not being able to play it until last night's episode has been like killing me. Because normally it's like whatever I'm obsessing over, whatever band, it's like, oh, I just play the shit out of them on there. You know what I mean? Like for a few months there last year, like when I first realized how much I liked X, like I was playing X like every week for a while. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh my God, this song's so good. You got to play. You know what I mean? Because it's great. Because I've had that. Like I know people have that, and including if you listen to this, probably. Because like if you listen to this show, the people I talk to, I know are real music fans who just really give a shit, listen to a lot of great stuff, and are very passionate about what they listen to. And like, I mean, years before I ever had a radio show or any outlet besides just being on social media, being like, hey, but like even that, like you're just social media. Like for years before this, just being like, here's a great fucking song and just sharing it on whatever. Or being like I remember the day I discovered Arch is a Loaf, and it's like right away, it's like one of my first reactions. Like I got to go on Twitter and be like, how the fuck have I never listened to Arch is a Loaf before? Like acknowledge to the world, be like, how the fuck have I never listened to this band? How have I went 22 years of my life, because that's how old I was when I finally listened to them. Shout out to Andy Jackson of Hot Rod Circuit. That's how I started listening to them, because he name dropped them in a bunch of interviews telling people they should listen to them. And I listened to Andy, and he was very right. And I loved that band. And funny enough, I met him once after a show. And at first I'm like, it was a great, I'm like, hey man, great show. Like, big fan. And he was nice, he's like, thank you. And then I told him he was the reason I got into Arches of the Loaf. And he was like, then he was really like, he lit up and was like, and he even said, he's like, oh, like, I'm so happy you're a fan, but I'm even more stoked that like you got into Arches of the Loaf. And he fucking sat there and just started like talking about him and stuff to me. Like he just started talking about Arches of the Loaf for probably like 3 minutes. It was awesome. But like just things like that where it's like when you discover a band or a song that just blows your mind, you just want to share it with the world. It's like to be able to have that, like I forget that at times. And then it's like when it's not there, when I'm not doing it, it's like, oh fuck, like how do I share this? Like what do I do? And yeah, so that's what I had to realize. And yeah, being gone, like with like the Dirty Nil, I just want to like play these songs for people. And if you're lucky, people like them or connect with them, the same way that they do to me. And I've said that before too as well. It's like the most rewarding thing I think of doing this is when someone goes, hey, I discovered so-and-so through you. Like my shout out to Mr. K, my 7th grade and 8th grade history teacher, the Leaves of Memory. Yeah, that's who it was. Like early on when I started doing the show, which is also extremely nice. I mean, he was supported it since like the beginning, which is very cool. Stuff like that I think is very, very rad. So shout out to him. But I remember him telling me after one episode that he listened to, he's like, hey, I'd never heard of the Leaves of Memory before. It's like they're really good and stuff. And like, to turn someone on to a band they hadn't heard of before, like that's the whole like point of this. And since then I've had a bunch of others, but I mean that's a very special one. But that's like the point of it is like, if you discover one band every time you listen, that's like very rad. And I talked about that too, with the 5th anniversary the other night. Just kind of my hope is that like someone, the podcast is different and you can listen to this from anywhere, so it had, which is still cool. I mean, I hope you discover stuff through here too, but like with the radio show, what I like is, yes, you can listen to it online. And now, see, that's a shameless plug. The Zach thing wasn't. That was a shameless plug. I'm trying to tell you that you can listen to the radio show from anywhere. If you have an internet connection, which you're listening to this shit, so obviously you do. I'm calling you out. You obviously do. Or just a cellular, even if you just have that data. But, WRFALP.com, and there's a streaming on there, plus the WRFA mobile app, but only for iPhone. It's not for Android, just iPhone. But anyway, it's on actual radio. Like when I say this is a radio show, nowadays people with podcasts call their shit radio shows. Like, no, motherfucker, that's not a radio show. Like what you're listening to right now is a podcast. This is not a radio show. What I do Friday nights from 10 p.m. Eastern to midnight on 107.9 WRFA and WRFALP.com and the WRFA mobile app, more shameless plugs, that is a radio show. And my biggest hope with the radio show is what other ones have done for me is when you're driving through some random place and you just pick up, normally it is a college radio station or a public radio station, a low power radio station like WRFA, and you'll, where they're playing things that you won't hear on a top 40 station or, normally just a commercial station. And, that's something that I think is very cool. And it's even cooler when it isn't a small place. Like Jamestown's a place of 30,000 people. Like we're not a huge place. And, like driving through places before, I've discovered bands where it's like you're just driving through the middle of nowhere almost, like you may not even have cell phone reception, but you can get sometimes a low power station that's playing some weird indie rock band that you would never hear anywhere else, Like actually, to be honest, I've never been a Wilco fan, but the whole reason I became an Uncle Tupelo fan was because I heard their cover of I Want to Be Your Dog on just some random ass station near, where was I? Like near Hemlock Lake in New York, like a couple hours outside of Rochester. I'm trying to think. There is like a college near there, so it's probably like a college station. But, nowhere big. It's not a big area. Like the college is about all that's there. And, before that, I was never a Wilco fan. And I even know it was Uncle Tupelo. I had to look it up after. But, and what I love, though, is that wasn't even that long ago. Like, that was it was maybe 5 years ago. But, just the idea of it's not like it was in an age of only radio, like, there was a time where you still had your phone and shit. But again, it's like we're just fumbling through, and it's like you start finding, and I remember on that trip we found a couple like other ones where, like, even if it wasn't stuff I was discovering, they were playing like the Ramones and Tom Waits and just things that I love. And it's like, again, like I think there's like two things, like discovering something you never heard before that you'd never hear anywhere else on the radio, and also hearing something that you love but would never hear on the radio. So like that's the other thing. Like I also like to play shit where it's like that's a classic, but no, like just throw it out there where I want you to go, holy shit, like I would never expect to hear that. Like I really want to hit you left field, like, so with both of those things, like that's what I really hope with the radio show. Like that's honestly like what I hope of anything that I've gotten out of the last 5 years. Like I truly hope there's people who have just been driving through, like the Interstate 86 goes through here. It's like, hopefully there's people just driving through, fumbling through on a Friday night, get on my state, get on 107.9 and just, like maybe they hear the Replacements for the first time, or maybe they're a fan and I'm playing you really don't hear them, but even if you do, I'm playing something that you want, like Gary's Got a Boner. Like maybe I'm playing Gary's Got a Boner, which you're probably not, or Till We're Nude, one that I play quite a bit. That's one of my favorite Replacement songs. One like that, which you're really not going to hear on the radio. And, hopefully I get to do that for people where they either have like a holy shit moment where it's like they are discovering the band, or holy shit, I can't believe I'm hearing this on the radio right now. Same with like Horse and stuff, like from the 90s, the band Horse. Like I hope I turn people onto them just like I was turned on to them. I mean, basically you're just trying to spread the joy that you got when you discovered these bands. Like that's basically what I'm trying to do with the radio show and podcast. Is like, I just want you to feel the same way I did the first time I heard like Web in Front. You know what I mean? Like, and that's an old ass song. Like, I mean, it just took me forever. But like, if you're a younger person, or hell, if you're older and you just never heard Arch's Loaf before, it's like, I want you to hear Web in Front for the first time, or the millionth time, because that song still hits me the same way, I would say. I mean, maybe not as hard as it did the very first time, but it still makes me feel something. And it's like, I want someone to hear that shit for the first time, or just for the millionth time, and just hit them, that way. You just hope to kind of basically do the same thing that happened to you and you heard it. But yeah. And lately, that for me has been the Dirty Nil with Fuck Art. I've been listening to that a ton. Bad Brains, their first record, that has been on the metaphorical turntable. I really haven't been listening to vinyl that much. Though, you know what though? I did I think it's still a couple months away, but I did pre-order actually that Bad Brains record, the first one, on vinyl, a nice limited green vinyl with the Punk Note covers that I talked about a few months ago, about them, alternative covers for the albums, and they look really, really cool. And that is coming in I think a couple more months, but that'll be the first record I've gotten in I don't know how long. I'm trying to think if I got one for Christmas, maybe. Maybe I got a record for Christmas. I did. I got the Ramones' It's Alive. I got the live record, the box set with like 3 CDs and a record. Sire, or not Sire. I mean, that is Sire, but Rhino's very, I like those box sets they do. Same with the Replacements, like with the Pleased to Meet Me one that did that whole episode on. But like where it's like 3 CDs and 1 record, and then like a big ass like, you know, like huge liner notes and interviews and stuff inside. And, you know, like I think I really like those, and I like how they fit in your collection because they fit with the vinyl and stuff. I really like those. I think the first one I ever saw that did that was I have a box set, or not a box. Yeah, I guess it is kind of a box set, from BYO, I think it is. And it's a compilation from like their first 10 years or 15 years or something. And it's just really, yeah, it's kind of built like the same way, but I've had that for years. I just bought that in like the Hot Topic clearance bin in like 2010, but it's like built the same way. I really do like those. They just fit in my collection very well. But yeah, another one, which I mean, at a time in my life was like one of my favorite albums and favorite bands, but I mean, it's been quite a while to be honest, but I do still have love for them. But Nirvana, Nevermind. I gotta say, I've been listening to that a little bit lately, which actually, I mean, happy birthday, Kurt Cobain, as I'm recording this, not as it's out, but Saturday night as I'm recording this, it's his birthday. February 20th. And, he's one of those ones that's interesting. And I don't think I'm the only one. Like, I think Nirvana is one of those bands where you discover them early. You know what I mean? Like, they're one of your, like, cause that's the thing is, like, people want to be cool, but it's like, to be honest, I think the majority, and maybe people will disagree, but I don't. I 100% think this, but it's like, I think most people, not everyone, but I would say the majority of people need Nirvana before they can get to like Husker Du. You know what I mean? Like so the thing with that is, yeah, like Nirvana's one where I think it hits us all at a younger age, and then you get older and they don't hit you the same way, you don't listen to them the same amount. And it's like, it's not that they're bad, it's just that there's a time and place, and I think you move on and find other things. Like, I think there's a lot of bands that are like that. I've never been big, like, I'm not a big Led Zeppelin guy, because I think just hearing the same 5 songs on like classic rock radio kind of ruined them for me in my youth. But like, I do know people who, like, not when they were young, not like people who are older, who were like old enough where like they were listening to Led Zeppelin, they were still around. But like, there's even people, say my age, who maybe like in their teenage years started discovering classic rock bands like, say, Led Zeppelin, and now they're sick of it. Like, now they would never listen to Led Zeppelin for fun. And it's not that Led Zeppelin's bad, it's that there was a time in their life where they listened to them so goddamn much that you just kind of get over it. You know, like, I think another one, like Nirvana's one. I think Green Day's one. Green Day was that for me for a very long time. And now I love Green Day again. But it's like, there was a time where I think I really loved them at like age 13 or 14 so much that later on in my teenage years, I kind of was like, I'm not into this anymore. I'm into this instead, you know, and that's the thing. Another one where, you know, I was getting into maybe harder shit, but before I got into the Descendants and Bad Religion and Bad Brains and, you know, like Fugazi and Minor Threat and shit like that, I was listening to Green Day and Blink-182. Blink-182 is another one where a lot of people, like, I still love Blink, you know, Tom DeLonge era, but there's a lot of people I think get older and like kind of cringe at Blink, or like, you know, don't listen to them the same way. But there was a time where they fucking loved them. And it's like, yeah, you may listen to harder things. Maybe you listen to Crass now, but it's like, you probably wouldn't start. You had to get there somehow. You know what I mean? Like Blink-182, Green Day, Nirvana, these are all kind of gateway drugs, I would say. You know, like they're very much gateway bands where you find other shit through them. You know, and then there's others, like I think an interesting one, like the Replacements, in my opinion, aren't a gateway band per se. Though maybe I'm wrong, like, because there are people who end up finding them. But like what I think they are is they're a gateway band after you've discovered other things. Like I think it took me a while. Like I liked the Replacements enough when I first heard them, but it took me a few years of listening to really, really get into them. And the thing is I think I got into other music. And once I started appreciating certain other music, then I appreciated the Replacements. And once you appreciate the Replacements, though, they're a gateway to other things. Because, like, I don't think I'd ever like Big Star if I didn't like the Replacements. There's a lot of college rock bands that I probably wouldn't like as much as I do if I didn't like the Replacements. Like the Violent Femmes, I really didn't get into all that much until I liked the Mats. The Lemonheads, didn't really like them all that much until I liked the Replacements. Like, there's a lot of like bands who like were either influenced by them or were kind of their peers, who I think I had to have that gateway. You know what I mean? Like, totally. And you know, those bands are important. And yeah, getting back to it, Nirvana was one of those for me. And you know, so yeah, I can't say. I mean, there was a time where I think Nirvana did huge things for me. But, you know, yeah, nowadays, like in my 20s, I mean, from time to time, I won't say I haven't listened to it at all, but like, yeah, it's like maybe something I'll listen to for, you know, maybe every couple of years I'll put it on. But, yeah, I've listened to it again, and I do, it like reminds me why I fell in love with it and why it was so important. Because it's the other thing. It's like, again, it's like you listen to it and you go, it is a good record because maybe now, again, like I was saying, like maybe now you love Husker Du, but the thing is, you love Husker Du because you loved Nirvana, and Nirvana has elements of Husker Du. Like the whole reason, you know what I mean? Like you have to go back and acknowledge that, I think, with certain things, and go, the whole reason you like, you know, this thing now is because you liked that then. you know, and it's like Nirvana's one of those things, I think, where you listen to it and go, you know, including when you think of how big it was, and you're like, Jesus, like this is a fucking band where it's like, you know, maybe they're not a straight up punk band, but you hear the punk influence and you hear the influence of this and that. And like, even though, and again, going back to the Replacements, even though Kurt Cobain denies it, like the fucking Replacements and stuff, you know, like, and that's a whole different thing. Like, I always do think that's interesting that he kind of was against the idea that he was influenced by them, which maybe he wasn't, like, but I have a very hard time believing that like he wasn't a fan of the Replacements and Paul Westerberg's songwriting. Like it blows my mind. I don't believe that. And I also don't believe the World Class Fad isn't about him. The Paul Westerberg song. And it really, I think as it goes, I think Paul Westerberg did say it was about him. And then once he killed himself, I think Paul kind of doubled down. To be honest, I love Paul Westerberg, but I think he did double down or back down. Not double down, I guess that'd probably be the wrong word. But he backed down and then started saying that it wasn't about him. So I don't know though. I mean, given the when it was released and I mean the lyrics and stuff, it seems like it would be about him. Because I know you could also say it was about everyone in general from that genre, you know, the bands of the 90s who were kind of getting big off what the Replacements did, you know, a decade earlier. But I do think the fact that, you know, I think he had kind of said his disdain for Kurt Cobain before. And he has talked about it, even though like one might even be later, but I know in Trouble Boys, I think he talked about that, like he talked to like his therapist and shit about it. Like he saw himself in like Kurt Cobain and stuff like that, like specifically like Kurt Cobain and shit. So, you know, definitely reason to believe that, you know, World Class Fad is about him. But yes, I think Kurt Cobain was influenced by the Replacements and he was a Replacements fan. And yes, I think Paul Westerberg wrote World Class Fad about him. And it's also a rad song. I love Nirvana, but I love Paul Westerberg and I love that song, you know. I love it all. It's all good shit. It's okay. You know, sometimes, you know what? Sometimes beefs are the best. Like to be honest, like there's bands where that piss and vinegar like makes them good. Like I honestly think that's why like it sounds ridiculous, but like the pettiness and stuff of youth, that's why people are like, your best stuff's when you're young. It's like, yeah, because you're like dumb and petty and really emotional and like, you know, like you start thinking about it, it's like you're kind of, I think sometimes it comes out in your music that way. And then it's like once you're a little older and chilled out and things are a little less sporadic, it's like, you know, you're a little cooler. You have a more level head on your shoulder, you know. But it is true, I think, with a lot of those, you know, like with first albums and shit like that. You know, a lot of times that is why I think you hear the you know, energy more. That's not to say some bands get better with age. There is really, because that's the thing, not every band, some bands, their best record may be their first, but there's a lot of bands whose their first record is their fucking worst. Like some bands do not start out amazing. Like some bands grow into it. Even, and actually like, I like everything. It's not that I dislike the older stuff, but like the Dirty Nil, like I was talking about how much I love the new record. Like Master Volume, their last record, and Fuck Art are amazing. Before that, like they're okay. But like I knew who the Dirty Nil was, but I never really cared until Master Volume. That's when I started really paying attention. Because before that, what I heard was okay, but I'm just like, yeah, they're just kind of an alright garage rock band. And you know, now like I'm loving it. Like so far, Fuck Art's the best album I've heard all year. And you know, and Master Volume was one of the best albums of 2018 in my opinion. But you know, yeah, like some bands, their first record is not their best. You know, like some bands grow into that, and it's interesting to see with some. But you know, sometimes that energy on the early ones, I think, do come out more, and then the kind of mellower ones. There are just some bands where it's like, you know, if your life was shittier, like like the curse, there it is a gift and a curse becoming successful and possibly having a more comfortable life financially, and you know, even artistically, just having people loving you for. You know, a legacy or something like that. It's like, you know, it might be easier to just be like, go on, you know, cruise control or whatever. But yeah, listening to some Nirvana, some Bad Brain, some Dirty Nil, Green Day too. Green Day, and just their back catalog in general. Like I mean, Insomniac, for sure. Nimrod, American Idiot, even. I forgot. Like American Idiot was once, because it was really the album that got me into Green Day, but it's like not my favorite anymore. And it's been years. Like I used to listen to it constantly for the first couple of years. I listened to Green Day, but now it's not one that I put on a whole lot. But I have lately a few times, and I forgot. Like there's some really good songs. Like after a while, I get sick of the really long songs. Like I'm okay with Jesus of Suburbia, but it's like after a while, I'm kind of like, all right, I don't need so many long songs. But like I forgot, like What's Her Name is a pretty good album closer, I would say, and a pretty underrated Green Day song. Like there's some pretty good songs, including more on the back end, I would say, of American Idiot. Because the front end, really, I mean, basically the first half of that record is hits. Like half of again, whether or not you liked American Idiot, maybe at that point you fell off. Maybe you were a fan of the older stuff and that wasn't how you got into them. Whether you like him or not, the first half of that fucking album was played like radio, MTV, Fuse, VH1. Like it was, the internet. Like, it was, and they're in Rolling Stone and every magazine. Like you couldn't get away from like the first half of that record. You know what I mean? Like it's insane culturally. It kind of goes back to like with Nirvana. Like I was saying earlier, it's like when you think of how big that record was, Nevermind, and just how big Nirvana got, and you go, that was mainstream, and you listen to that and you go like, wow, like that's pretty fucking cool that was mainstream. You know what I mean? Like that's the other side of it. Like, yeah, you could look at it back in the day as like selling out and shit, but there's another side of it where you're like, isn't it kind of cool though that it is? You know what I mean? Like there's another side of it where it's like, I don't know, in a sense, it's neat. I mean, now it can become bloated, and that ends up being, I think, the bigger problem than it just being popular is when it becomes bloated or a parody of itself, as grunge and every other genre eventually does. But, popularity, I don't know, is the worst thing, and kind of cool, and open the doors for a lot of bands, Even if some of them never really went anywhere with the major label, signings that they got, they definitely, if your band had like distorted power chords and you put out, after 94, basically, if you had like distorted power chords and were kind of alternative or anything grungy, and you got signed to a major label, it was like 100% because of Nirvana. Like you never would have gotten signed 3 or 4 years prior at all. Like 100% thanks to Nirvana. But yeah, lots of Green Day. Funkadelic, Maggot Brain. I've talked about that on here. I just discovered the genius of Funkadelic like last year. I've known forever like who George Clinton and everything is, and I like some of the early Red Hot Chili Peppers stuff that he produced, but I've never got into like Parliament or Funkadelic or anything. And specifically Maggot Brain. That record ceases to amaze me. It's just insane. If you've never listened to that album, go listen to that album. It's so goddamn good. Like it's just Eddie Hazel. Everyone should know who Eddie Hazel is. There's certain guitar players. Billy Zoom from X, who actually another birthday. Happy birthday to Billy Zoom. Today is his birthday, February 20th. And he is right up there with Eddie Hazel as guitarists who, how the fuck we aren't like putting them up there with like Hendrix or Clapton or Eddie Van Halen or Satriani or Tom Morello or who Slash. You get what I'm saying. Like should just be up there. Eddie Hazel's guitar playing, holy fuck, he is amazing. And same with Billy Zoom. Billy Zoom. Just both of them, just rock guitarists. Neither of them are even. Eddie Hazel's very far from punk. Didn't play any punk. X is punk, but Billy Zoom's kind of. I think also what makes him amazing is he's kind of like a rocker playing punk. You know what I mean? Like he's not a punk per se. He's he's like a guitar virtuoso playing punk. Almost if you had like an Eddie Van Halen or something playing punk rock, which I think is what's really fucking cool about him. But two guitar players where it's just like. Rock music should be acknowledging them more. You should see their faces up more. When you go into a Guitar Center, their faces should be up there with all those people that I mentioned, basically. But yeah, Maggot Brain, amazing. Eddie Hazel, his guitar playing, holy fuck, just so good. Banner Pilot, I mean, I'm always listening. I feel like I'm always listening to Banner Pilot, actually. Like, ever since I started listening in like 2014, I don't know that I ever stopped listening to them, but I've been listening to them tons. And Replacements, as I talk about on here, Paul Westerberg, a lot of Besterberg, which I love. And I get it's a compilation. I know it's a best of. I know that's kind of cheating, but it's like his best solo release. Because not so much on the early ones, but some of the later stuff, he does get more experimental and weird. And this is more of a straightforward. And I like some of the lo-fi and the experimental shit. But if you just want to like listen to a portfolio of like why he's a genius songwriter and why he was still good even after the Replacements, Besterberg is like the best representation of it. You know what I mean? Like, just so good. Like, the whole thing is just so good from front to back. And like, I listen to it and I just go, I fall in love again with his songwriting, like every time. Like, it just makes me love music. You know what I mean? That's all I can say is I listen to it and I just go like, my God. But the Replacements too, I've been listening to a lot of Matt's, specifically like Tim and Pleased to Meet Me, that era of the band, and just listening to it and going like, listening to like Left of the Dial. And I know I tweeted this on the Power Chord Hour page not long ago. I'm like anyone who's ever written a song whose last name isn't Westerberg is just a hack. It's like, if you're not Paul Westerberg, like, you just like, why bother? Like, why even fucking bother? Like, who would bother to ever even try writing a song ever again after fucking the Replacements? And once the Replacements broke up in 1991, music should have just been over. No one should have ever written a fucking note again. All guitars should have been burnt, like drum kits just fucking smashed. You know, like just really, just, yeah, you know, just music should have ended there. But no, we had to be greedy, and look what happened. A lot of terrible, that's the other side of it. I try to, like I was saying earlier, I try to highlight all the good music, but I also got to highlight all the shit music that's came out since 91. You know, lots of terrible shit before that too, but I'm just saying, lots of shit after 91 too. After the Replacements broke up. And, you know, maybe there's a correlation there. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But, yeah, lots of that. And the Stooges, too. The Stooges Funhouse. Just been listening to that a lot lately. I mean, that's another one where it's just like, goddamn, I mean, those guys are legends. I mean, punks before punk was a thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just insane, like, how good they are. You know, like, just godfathers of something. You know, like, really, like, it's just amazing. And that's probably my favorite Stooges record too. It's just like they're just so cool to this day. Like, I mean, look at like 50 something years later, like I look back at those pictures of like the Ashton brothers and Iggy and all of them, and it's just like, they just look so fucking cool. You know what I mean? They're one of those bands that, like, I think they'll always look that way. Same with the Ramones, where, like, you look at the Ramones, including those black and white photos from the original lineup with Tommy, Dee Dee, and Johnny and Joey, like, they just look like fucking delinquents. Like, it's amazing. Like, it's so good. And the New York Dolls, too, I mean, talking about, you know, rest in peace, Sylvan, which is just so sad. We were on break during that. I had to play a shit ton of New York Dolls. That's another very underrated guitar player. You know, Johnny Thunders was in the New York Dolls. Sylvan's a lot like Walter Lure, who passed away last year, where an amazing guitar player who got overshadowed because he was in a band with Johnny Thunders. If you're in a band with Johnny Thunders, you're going to get overshadowed. You know what I mean? It's like if you're in AC/DC. Like if you're in there and you're playing with Angus Young, you're going to be overshadowed. You know what I mean? Like, people aren't going to you're not going to be the main attraction. And that's not just the other guitar player. I mean, that's everyone in the band. But still, Sylvan, amazing guitar player, just like Walter Lure, who again, just their guitar playing works so well with the interlocking with Johnny Thunders. And, including with Sylvan being there in the very beginning, as Johnny Thunders was becoming the Johnny Thunders that we now know and love, the legend. But, New York Dolls are another one where, like, you just look back at those pictures, like, talk about being innovative. You know what I mean? Like, just innovators and just looking fucking cool. Like, just in the fucking high heels, just the big hair and shit. I mean, and like punk before punk, glam metal before glam metal, like, you know, like, I mean, all these different things before, you know what I mean? Like really before anything else that was going to hit, and just, and good music too. Not just that, but the music's really good. That's the other important thing. Same with the Stooges, where it's like, not just that they look cool. I mean, it's great that they look cool aesthetically, but it's like, yeah, the music's also really fucking amazing, you know? So yeah, that's what I've been listening to. And if you listen to the radio show, you hear a lot of that stuff here coming up. Last night's episode, I know I played Dirty Nil, Hang Your Moon. I did play Green Day. I played Stewart in the Avenue. And did I play? I played the Replacements. I didn't play Paul Westerberg, but I closed with Color Me Impressed. What I did was I did play a few songs from our very first episode 5 years ago. And the very first song we ever played on the show was Against Me Is Up the Cuts. So we opened the show with that. And we closed with the Replacements, Color Me Impressed, because that's what I closed with on the very first episode. And I talked about on the radio show too. It's funny. The original playlist I had for the very first episode ended up getting altered in the studio because I had to bring in a burnt CD, like, of my playlist, and the format was all fucked up. Like, it wasn't reading the iTunes format or something. Like I can't remember what it was, but it was messing up. So thankfully, like half of it imported, like half of the songs. Like, if there were 20 songs on the first episode, 10 of them got imported. And thankfully for me, WRFA has such a rad library that, like, they either had the songs or they had good shit to play. Like, I remember I had Archers of Loaf on there, and they had Archers of Loaf because it didn't burn, but they had Icky Metal. Like, shit like that. Like, how cool. Like, what a cool station. How many radio stations have fucking Icky Metal? You know what I mean? Like, and funny enough, the Replacements, I ended up playing twice because of that. Because Another Girl, Another Planet, their live version, I think from the very last show, from Grant Park in Chicago, July 4th, 1991, the first time they broke up. And I played that. It was either that or the Incarcerated version. But either way, I played one of those and in the middle of the show, and then I closed with Color Me Impressed. But Color Me Impressed wasn't originally on there, but I threw it in because I needed more songs. But played that. So I opened and closed the same songs they did 5 years ago, and then some other ones like The Violent Femmes, Please Do Not Go, and then a couple others. And just really, like, I had fun because, like I mentioned earlier, you know, I was trying to think of something to do, like, kind of special for the 5th anniversary of the show. And, you know, at first I was kind of overthinking. I'm like, well, like, what the hell do you do? Because, like, I want to celebrate it. It's an anniversary. And especially when I realized it fell on the same day. But then, like, I started thinking about it, it's like, what do I do? And really just getting on there and just bullshitting and talking about the show for the last 5 years and doing things like that, like playing songs like I did 5 years ago, talking about guests I've had throughout the years and just behind the scenes stuff. I think that ended up being the most fun. And I talked so much about the show that I ended up having to cut some songs out of the playlist. So, you know, it was really enjoyable and just really fun. So, you know, I'm stoked to be back now. It's weird because, I mean, again, it's like it is almost March, and I know this isn't even the first episode of the year. We've already had, like, I think 3 or 4 new episodes and a throwback episode with Jeff Cadill, which that was a lot of fun. Shout out Jeff. I mean, one of the nicest dudes too that I've had on the show. One of the nicest fucking guys. Definitely will have him back on sometime. But yeah, like, even though it's not the first, like, having the break when we did, it was kind of weird. Like, I enjoyed it. It was nice to get away from the show for a minute. You know, not that I don't love doing it, but just take a break for, you know, a couple weeks and recharge my batteries. But it is kind of weird because, like, it's still the beginning of the year. So, like, even though it's not the first episode, I feel like we're starting over again, and we're, like, really starting the year, like a real start. So I'm starting to think of, like, who I want to interview, who I want to have on, topics for the show, like solo episodes with Zach and Kyle. You know, thinking about some other guests. You know, I mean, we've already been, you know, the show's 5 years old. We've been doing the podcast for a year. Thinking of some podcast guests to return, and you know, just all that stuff. But I mean, like, I want to know, you know, you listen to the show too, and you know, hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com. Tell me who you want to hear me play, whether it's on the radio show or on, you know, like the monthly rundowns on here, and also who you want to hear me interview. You know, who do you want to hear me talk to? You know, who are your favorite musicians? And, you know, again, like I was saying, like, I want to turn people on to music. And it's like, turn me on to your favorite artist. I'd love to hear who the people who listen to this show, who their favorite artists are, because chances are I'll probably like it. You know what I mean? If you're listening to this show and you like what I'm playing and the people I'm talking to, we probably have mutual taste. So I'll probably like what you like, So, I'd love to talk music with you. Hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com. But, either way, if you don't want to do the legwork for me or the hard work and, tell me who I should have on, it's all good. I'm coming up with people. I'm coming up with ideas. I'm excited. More album anniversary ones. Like people seem to really like those episodes. Those have been some favorites of mine, just talking about records for their anniversaries. And I've reached out to a couple people already, but also new people too. I got to hit up the Dirty Nils people. I would love to have their singer Luke on, or really any of them. They're all great. I'd love to have any of those dudes on. Ross, Kyle, Luke. They're all good. They're all good dudes. And so that is the episode. I'll be back next week with the February rundown. We'll play a couple songs from the month, talk about music from the month, and all that good shit. But until then, stay connected with the show. We're online at Power Chord Hour on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. We're on Spotify. Maybe you're listening to it on there, but we have playlists from our radio show. I put up everything that I play on the radio show. You can go check out what I played on the 5th anniversary special. It is up there. It's our latest playlist. And what else? Where else can you hit us up? powerchordhour@gmail.com. I have stickers. They're absolutely free. Some Power Chord Hour stickers. Just email me and I'll send you some. And if you'd like a Power Chord Hour t-shirt, I'll send you a Power Chord Hour t-shirt and some stickers and maybe even some guitar picks that I have left over. If you go leave a review on Apple Podcasts, go leave a review, send us a screenshot, powerchordhour@gmail.com, or on social media. Just send a screenshot somewhere. All you got to do is send it to me somehow. And fucking carrier pigeon. Take a Polaroid of the review, like on your phone, and give it to a carrier pigeon to fly to me. And just fly, not to my personal address. That'd be fucking weird. But if the carrier pigeon goes to the radio, goes to WRFA, it's all good. Just have them drop it off there, and just write my name on there, like attention Anthony, and I'll get it. And I will send you a T-shirt and and some stickers and probably a thank you card and all that. But yeah, if you want to go leave a review, it really would help the show, and as well as just spreading the word to people and getting these stickers and sticking them on things. I'm not telling you where to stick them. I'm not telling you to vandalize shit, but get rad with them. Do some rad shit with those stickers. So hit me up for them. But that is it. I'll be back next week. Also, check out the Power Chord Hour radio show every Friday night. It is totally different from this. I play music for 2 hours and talk and have tons of fun. And it's a good time. So listen to that as well. But until next week for the Power Chord Hour podcast, I'm Anthony Merchant. Thanks for listening.